Good afternoon. My name is Andre Parada, one of the corporate attorneys here at the Cannabis Legal Group, located in downtown Royal Oak, Michigan. I'm joined today by my esteemed colleague, Christopher AMMORI, who's also one of the corporate cannabis attorneys here at CLG. Today's discussion topic will center on home delivery services for licensed retail or dispensary establishments in the state of Michigan, the processes and procedures involved in gaining approval to deliver your products to consumers at their home, and some other requirements that the state implements in their home delivery service procedures to make sure that you're in full compliance once you are operational in your home delivery services. And so we hope you find this information informative and helpful. And if you have other questions about items discussed in this topic today, or other questions regarding any type of licensure or legal issues regarding your cannabis business, please don't hesitate to reach out to Chris or myself or the firm. So without further ado, we'll dive right into today's discussion, which again centers on home delivery services for licensed retail establishments. And it really is only for licensed retail establishments, obviously, because the retailers are the consumer-facing licensed entities, unlike the growers or the processors who take their product and send it to the retailers. So this service obviously is only available to licensed medical or recreational retailers. And unlike what are called specialty licenses in the state of Michigan, temporary event licenses, or even like a secure transporter, which really technically doesn't fall into that category. But a distinction should be made that this is not a freestanding license. In other words, an entity cannot just apply for home delivery services. You have to be a licensed retail establishment, adult use or medical, in order to even apply for home delivery services. So this is not a freestanding ability for anybody to come and offer these services to consumers. It has to be by a holder of a retail license already. So with that out of the way, we'll talk about some of the specific requirements in order to get your home delivery services approved to deliver your clients the products that they want. As an initial matter, your entity has to establish and draft policies and procedures regarding their plans that they established for home delivery. Those plans have to be delivered to the state, and they have to be formally approved by the MRA and the state prior to you initiating home delivery services. Later on in the presentation, Chris will talk briefly about some of the more specific requirements involved in those procedures. But that's an initial matter. You have to submit policies and procedures to the state. The state then has to approve them, and then off you go. Then you can then solicit orders online or via the phone, and then deliver the products that have been ordered by the clients. One of the most important factors to consider is the age verification of anybody who's wanting to order products. Assuming you've presented your policies and procedures to the state, they have been subsequently approved. The age verification really is one of the most critical components of compliance with home delivery services. You have to verify the consumer's age both at the time the order is placed and then, of course, at the point of sale, at the delivery handoff at the place of residence. There is a requirement under state law that the delivery has to be at a place of residence. So it can't be at a hotel, it can't be at a park or another area. It's got to be at somebody's residence in order for the product to be safely delivered in compliance with state law. Some of the other questions we get from currently licensed retailers who are looking to establish a home delivery service is, can we contract out the services, the actual home delivery, to a third party, independent contractors? I mentioned before that this is not a freestanding license. In other words, you have to be a licensed retailer in order to offer these services. So the question then becomes, I'm a licensed retailer, can I contract these out? The answer by rule is no. The delivery services have to be undertaken by employees, W-2 employees of the retail establishment. So you can't you can't just get the license granted to you and then contract those services out to third parties. They have to be undertaken by direct employees of the licensed entity. Some of the other requirements in terms of the actual process of delivery, after the order has been placed and at the time of delivery, during the course of delivery, the driver has to have a mode of communication to be able to contact not only the customer but also the retail establishment. So that's usually satisfied by having a cell phone on the delivery person's body in the car, but also on their person, to be able to be accessible to the retail establishment or to the consumer itself. That's a requirement under law. There's also another requirement about geographic location notification. So that is satisfied and achieved by having GPS in the vehicle itself. That way, the delivery log can be tracked and monitored for compliance, and also just for safety concerns, to satisfy those concerns, really to establish the precise location at all times of the delivery driver, because the driver will, of course, have regulated product in those vehicles. So with that in mind, the state also does set other limitations regarding both the amount and the value of the product that can be in the vehicle at any one time. The amount limitation is 15 ounces, I believe, and 60 grams of product, no more than that. And then the value threshold is set at $5,000. So the value threshold cannot exceed that amount. Obviously, this is on an honor code to a certain degree, but you want to have meticulous documentation, which we'll discuss towards the end, in order to show that you're in full compliance with both the amount and the value restriction thresholds that the state imposes. And so I mention those now because a lot of times we will have clients ask, can we somewhat anticipate orders? You know, whether they're previous orders that you know at a certain date or around a certain date a client will place again. And so they'll ask, can we just stack product in the licensed vehicle to anticipate orders because we know they're going to happen later in the day? The answer to that is unfortunately no. You are limited to having in the vehicle only product that has been specifically ordered. You cannot just stack up a delivery vehicle and anticipate deliveries, or get a delivery order and then notify the driver and say, okay, we have a new one in, can you make this delivery? Every product in the vehicle that's going to be delivered has to have been ordered prior to the vehicle leaving the retailer. So Chris, I mentioned we'll talk briefly about some of the specific requirements in terms of policies and procedures that must be presented to the state in order for them to approve of the delivery service. But some of the other ones that I'll touch briefly upon include a delivery log. Part of that log will have a stop location. In other words, every specific stop on that course of delivery will have to be noted in that log. And those logs, of course, are then, they can be audited or they can be disclosed to the state to show compliance with the delivery procedures in general. There are also motor vehicle logs as well. This, of course, will belong to the driver of the establishment, or it could be a vehicle that the company has specifically identified and labeled for delivery purposes. But information regarding that vehicle is also going to have to be logged and kept as part of your business records for compliance purposes. And so without further ado, I'll turn the remaining portion over to Christopher, who will again discuss briefly about the requirements of some of these business policies and the logs to ensure that you're in full compliance once your delivery procedures are formally approved by the state.
Thanks, Andre. Yeah, one of the most important parts is really just getting the standard operating procedure started for the home delivery services. So like Andre said, obviously you're going to require a retail license, but getting the home delivery approval is a rather simple process. What it really entails is drafting a standard operating procedures and emailing those procedures to the MRA for kind of a review, audit, and then an eventual approval. When I draft my own standard operating procedures, which we do as attorneys all the time for our clients, we like to include 3 or 4 different details that kind of go down to route planning, vehicles, the home delivery transactions, as well as the home delivery kind of employee policies and procedures. Kind of speaking to what Andre said, we will have a log of the kind of the beginning of the delivery session as well as the ending of the delivery session. So within that log, we'll have the name of the driver, the vehicle kind of make, model, vehicle identification number, as well as the amount of marijuana product, like Andre stated, which is a retail value of $5,000, as well as a tag number, kind of the metric tag, as well as the name of the strain of the marijuana that is being delivered to the adult users or to the caregivers. One additional thing that's always included within the logs is acknowledgement of signature of receipt of the product by the customer. So the MRA obviously just wants to confirm that we have documentation that the correct person has signed for it, the correct person has provided their identification, whether it be, whether it's an adult user, whether it's their, license or ID, and if they're, a patient, whether it's their, their kind of medical user identification card, as well as their own driver's license. The driver will also physically carry, whether it's online or in documentation form, their own kind of employee ID number, which is in metric, the amount and the type of marijuana product that they have with them, as well as their own address and contact information. That way, if there is something that they need to get contacted, or if there's an issue with the delivery or with kind of like what Andre said, maybe a safety measure, at least there's a way to be able to contact our own drivers to keep our own employees safe. And speaking again in terms of kind of safety, and also what Andre mentioned, is there a requirement within the AMMORI rules that GPS is included within the vehicle, that a secure type of communication be available, which is usually a phone, thankfully, which everybody carries, as well as secure compartments within that vehicle for the marijuana product, as well as for the cash received from the customers. So an important thing to note is, like Andre mentioned, we are able to take online orders as well as phone orders. And the AMMORI does allow for purchase online as well as cash payment when the actual products are received. So we have secure compartments available because it's, employee safety is going to be very important just because of the product and their ultimate values.
To Chris's overarching point, what we really counsel our clients and even our prospective clients who are inquiring about these home delivery services is meticulous record keeping. You obviously need it on the front end to get your policies and procedures approved by the state. So you'll need to be meticulous in how you present your delivery plan. But frankly, even after that, all the logs that Chris is entailing, the vehicle logs, the delivery logs themselves, even the employee logs, the employee who is doing the delivery service, all those records must be maintained and kept meticulous, because failure to do so not only jeopardizes your ability to continue to deliver at home, it could potentially, depending on how, if you get into a non-compliance route, you could potentially jeopardize your actual license itself. And that's something you want to avoid entirely, of course. And a way to do that, the best way to do that is to keep meticulous records. Obviously, your attorneys would help help toward that goal. But we always counsel clients to keep meticulous records of not only the logs, but all the requirements that the state outlines that you comply with in order to deliver product to your clients in a compliant manner as required by state law.
Yeah, I had a client recently had their annual inspection for their license, and the AMMORI inspector did actually ask for their delivery logs, and they did review the delivery logs. Mm-hmm. So it is something that compliance is going to take a look at. So, as attorneys, we always harp on a couple different things, and in the case of home delivery, it's going to be really having a solid standard operating procedure, exactly right, as well as a good way to keep records of all the deliveries and all the products that are being delivered, as well as acknowledgments of signature, acknowledgments of receipt, and acknowledgments that proper identification has been provided.
And one last final item to top it off here, the rules are always subject to change here, not only with the subject to modification as well, not only with the delivery service aspect, but just licensing in general. Mm-hmm. So one of the questions we do have, both Chris and I had mentioned it, the delivery must be to a residence. It can't be at a hotel, it can't be at a park, it can't be at other third party, it must be at a residence. Some clients have asked, does it have to be your own residence? In other words, could we be at a Super Bowl party and I want to make a delivery request at a residence that's not my house? My understanding and our understanding has been that the law is silent on that. It doesn't address it. It does say the customer's residence. So if you want to take a technical interpretation, we've always counseled clients to be on the safe side, that you should probably order it from your own home, just to be on the ultra safe side. But the point in me bringing this up is it's a new area of law, just like cannabis in general, and all these rules, it's critically important to comply with them. Just know that some of them are subject to change. It's a very fluid situation, and that's why the attorneys at the Cannabis Legal Group could best position you to be in full compliance, not only when at the time of operation, but into maybe stepping into areas that require further policies and procedures for state approval, like delivery services to somebody's home.
Definitely.
Again, we hope you have found this information informative and helpful and interesting. And if you would like additional information regarding this or any other topic related to cannabis licensing or cannabis business structure, cannabis real estate issues, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or my esteemed colleague. Again, my name is Andre Parada with the Cannabis Legal Group. I can be reached at andre@cannabislegalgroup.com.
And I can be reached at chris@cannabislegalgroup.com.
Feel free to also visit our website at cannabislegalgroup.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.